Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. I'm Igor Franca, and today I will talk to you about advanced testing and monitoring strategies for low-code applications. So, first of all, I will present to you the talk's agenda. The agenda will be divided in three parts, the talk. The first one is the conceptual understanding. In this part, we will talk about LCAPs, agility, understand who is the citizen developer and why we need to create a governance environment. In the second part, we will understand how we can create this governance environment. We also will understand what is those technical gates, how can we build a test map, and why I need to version my definitions. In the end, we are applying that governance framework in one simple case study. We are making some changes in one real HR application that is, your goal is the performance reimbursement app. So, as some of you already know, I am a front-end developer on the BPM team, and I work very close with the objects. And I could working with the model builder and some amazing features that enable non-technical users to create their solutions by their own, right? Like, and sometimes when I was reading the steps to reproduce some issue that we received from some customer, I think, okay, how this error gets into the production environment? Many of them should be noted in the test environment. From there, I started to research in this subject. So, based on my experience and the knowledge achieved from those papers, I will propose a framework to help us to create a stable solution. So, let's take a look into some concepts. First of all, low-code or no-code applications could be defined as environments, technical environments that enable us to create solutions without or using just a little bit normal programming. So normally these environments provide drag and drop interfaces, visual workflows, enabling fast application development. So, to start to think about low-code applications, let's try to understand in each context it was created. So, low-code applications were idealized in one scenario that companies have to build apps faster than ever to stay competitive. While in the traditional software development, sometimes the development could be slow and it required a lot of qualified programmers that sometimes is hard to find. Aligned with this, the application should be flexible to guarantee quick change. Imagine one scenario when some things go viral on the internet. Everyone is talking about that, and the marketing teams needs to use this on their benefit. So in the first scenario, using low code, the marketing team could create their pages, their formulas, some experience, and solve their needs by themselves. In the next scenario, this marketing team should create some tickets to the IT department, queue that sometimes is quite long, and in that specific example, if this use case of the marketing takes too long to get into marketing, like if the go-to-market takes too long, sometimes this does not cause the same impact. So, if we go back in time, imagine these two things here. This is the right scenario to build something similar to low-code applications. So, but with this, when us starting to think about low-code, we start to create a paradox. Like, the academy named this person that is not a technical guy that works within low-code solutions as citizen developer. And he is the owner of the low-code developer. Generally, he is a business expert and a functional focus. And the paradox is, well, better than anyone, the acceptance criteria, they know the product better than anyone, but they are not software engineers, right? So, I have this quote from one of those papers that I could read, and here we see, the citizen developers use powerful tool sets to build modular applications, reducing the demand for IT professionals while driving efficiency and productivity. So now that we understand a little bit more about in which scenario the low-code was idealized and the citizen developer paradox, we can talk a little bit about the pros and the risks that the low-code applications introduced. So the pros, we know them very well, right? The access, the velocity, the cost efficiency. But behind this access, we create some risks, like the shadow IT, for example. Imagine the shadow IT, for example, in the Liferay context as some citizen developer that is interacting with those user interface like model builder in the production environment. It's a friendly user experience. I would just to create one field, maybe add one relationship, but it's not a great idea. Think about the cons or the risks that the velocity could create. Like if you want to build the applications very fast without thinking a lot about architecture, we could create a lot of maintenance debts. And the unstructured data integrity, I could think about this like, imagine you have one object with some validations that will be not right in the better way. So you could have data on the database that is not compatible with the business requirements. So those are the main scalability risks that we should keep our attention. And to track them, we need to create a governance environment. So, as we understand more about low-code, how can we extract the better that it can offer? Like, I bring one reflection. For me, the low-code better gain is the access. Like, people that couldn't create their solutions by themselves now are able to do that. So we need to think, my company is taking advantage of this access that low-code provides. Like, think about some departments, marketing, sales, HR, what they need to solve their daily experience. Like, imagine one scenario where they can solve their needs by themselves. It's exciting, right? But to do this, us, a software engineer, needs to create a culture and an environment to make it possible. So, we need to think about this quality engine and how can we create quality gates to create a safe environment to enable others to create their solutions. So, I think we can create 6 steps here to start to think about this governance environment. So let's looks like another quote from those papers that say, the user inputs their business requirements to make real-time change while developing the app. And from here, the key point is the real-time change. Like, it's pretty good, right? I perform some changes and everything is working, but if those changes are performed in the wrong environment, it could cause change on the production, and we don't want this. So, first of these 6 steps is the acceptance criteria. So, I'm trying to bring some software engineer process to low-code applications to start to think about this governance environment and how can we build this. So the acceptance criteria serve out like an automated contract between the business, the citizen developers, and the IT departments. They must define the expected behavior for all the system. Here, we replace the ambiguity with the clear steps. So if we can't translate one new feature into one acceptance criteria with if easily pass or fail test case, probably it not should be an acceptance criteria. So the second one is the test map. This test map ensures that 100% of the test coverage of my critical flows are covered. So the test map is our uncertainty policy. It guarantees that every single business rules are constantly being monitored and automated. Technical refinement. So imagine that this citizen developer or business user have some ideas and needs to create something like one HR employee or something like that. She needs some guidance to build their solution. So here I am proposing that the department team and the other departments can working together to make that things happen. So here in that moment, the two departments will collaborate to share the acceptance criteria, talk about the test maps, and the technical team will provide the necessary documentations and the necessary information to empower that non-technical user. So the next thing that we keep in mind is, after this technical refinement, the citizen developer is 100% ready to start the work. Like, he knows the acceptance criteria, they know the test criteria, they read the documentations that the technical team provide to him. So now it's time to create some objects, create some workflows, validations, users, roles. In the end, when he finishes it, your work is done. Like, here, we start to use some Liferay tools to make this governance environment happen. Imagine, this user already finished to change their object definitions, their workflows in the test environment that us as software engineer provide to him. And now, we as a software engineer needs to, here in those environments, extract those object definitions, those workflows, and put in the production. But we need to create some strategies here. And here, we can use the batch engine tools and the site initialize to make it happen. So we have a batch engine talk just yearly in the main stage. And the site initialize is like a tool that provides to us to create an automated tool for site creations. So imagine one scenario that the user creates some pages, some objects, validations, and we need to take those things and put in the test environment, and after that in the production environment. So with the power of these two tools, it's make easier to us to make it happen. And also, we can use these tools to create our site in the CI environment to perform those all these tests from our test maps to make sure that our tests are running on the same JSON files in the site initialize and the batch engine that will be deployed in the production. So after that, we already have our versioning files on the CI, And we can think about some strategies to conditional the deploy of those client extensions in the production environment and the test environment. So we can create some automations or something similar to push some versioning changes, like our test engine will deploy the site initialize, the batch engine, our tests will run, and everything sounds good. We can just push this on the test environment and then on production environment. And in the end, we need to monitor the test results. Like it's not a run, it's just a cycle. We need to think about the test as a cycle, as a process that always needs to be on our daily lives. So here I create a diagram to illustrate how can this process could work. Could you share for my computer, please? Switch. Okay. Think about this diagram, this process, as an example that could you use, adapt to your company or to your use case. First, I will present like these two purples first columns, first rows are the citizen developer process. Like, and the green one is the technical process. In this line between these two colors is the charity work. Like, let's see how this works. First, department could identify an issue or a need. She needs to analyze it and ask yourselves, I will need to create some IT solutions to solve my necessities. If the answer is yes, we can start to think about acceptance criteria. And we need, when we have all the acceptance criteria right defined, we could start to think about who will be the citizen developer. Like, if we think about one department, we can choose someone from those departments that know the product, know the acceptance criteria, and start to share collaboration with the IT department. After that, we need to ask ourselves if this other department is right to the refinement meeting. If the answer is yes, we could just to meet one refinement with the software engineers or the modeling architect or someone in the technical department responsible for guiding other departments. So here we have our first technical gate. It's one meeting when the citizen developer will present their need, like I need a form or need some page, and we as technical professionals should be translate their need as to solutions. So to meet that need, we can create some object definition, one workflow, one transition, one validation, and you need to provide to him the right documentations to make it possible. Like with the guidance and the documentations, I'm confident that those people can build amazing solutions. So if everything is good here, the documentation is already be provided, the citizen developer could start it with the low-code development. After all those things done, like he say, okay, I think my work is done, we need to perform, we as citizen developer, perform all manual steps of the test case that we defined. So if manually we can successfully pass from all test cases, the IT department should be responsible for creating functional tests on top of this test case. And here we have the second technical gate. If all these tests pass, we can follow to the next step, but if not, we should to communicate the citizen developer and ask to improve something and provide more guidance and rerun this flow. But if the test pass on the test environment, we could export those definitions and versioning these definitions in the GitHub, for example. So here, the GitHub files serve to us as a single source of truth. Imagine that we have the 3 environments and a lot of employees change a lot of things, but all the informations on the GitHub are deployable because the tests run into it. So after versioning all these definitions, we can deploy using the batch engine client extension and site initialize client extension. We can deploy these on the test environment. And we run this test again, run all our tests from the acceptance criteria again, and if it works, we can just keep moving and deploy these client extensions on the production environment. So here is important to note that we are not talking about abandon our original strategies for deploy in the cloud, or you can imagine this as a plus, like it's a full process as a plus that we can sum with these original deploy strategies. And if, just in case, something goes wrong here, we can just bring back one commit or bring back one version and redeploy all again, that it should be solve some possible issue. And the next step after deploy this on production is monitoring. So we could create some monitoring strategies to keeping these solutions safe. Like every day, we have to look at these tests running, 100% of success, 100% of test coverage on the right critical scenarios. So following those processes, I believe that we can minimize the risks that the low code provides. Could you switch to the slide again, please? Okay. Okay, so one more quote from the papers. Let's say, local developer allows business units to build the applications that they need, while the IT department concentrates on the strategic needs of the organization. So the key point is here. The IT department will be concentrated on the strategic needs. Like, we are not creating HR, internal tools or marketing tools. We are just save some time to guide other departments to create their solutions. So imagine that flow running for a year or 2 years. Like, after a lot of refinement meetings, the other employees are able to understand better the objects, the workflows, and we are starting to create an environment where all our company will take advantage of the access that low-code provides. So here we will bring this theory to practice. So we will create the reimbursement test case unit. And let's see. Could you bring it to my computer again, please? So here I have two environments. Imagine this first one running in the 8080 as a dev environment, and there's another one running in the 8081 as a AUAT environment. So here we have a simple reimbursement application. I have one object definition, that's one request for, I have the title field, the amount, description, the date, the receipt. And here is a form container into a page. So nothing's new. It's a form container. And I have my object definition right here. So let's imagine the process that we defined. The first step, we need to create the right acceptance criteria to our new needs. So let's think about this. Here I have one story. So imagine that HR team needs to categorize that expenses. Like the HR department should have the track of the travel expenses, educational expenses, and office expenses. Also, we need to add one more person as reviewer from this process. So as we need to, Anna Bookman receive the tasks and review the expensive requests. So let's see how can we working with this on the test environment. So the first thing we have to understand is, probably the citizen developer will understand, okay, I will need to add one more field in my forms, so how can the better way to do that? In the refinement meeting, we are provide to him the right strategies to make this happen. But before this refinement meeting, we need to create the acceptance criteria that, as I showed, and on top of the acceptance criteria, we need to create the test map that will guide us on the all process. So it's just an example. We can create by yourself or use one similar example that is, but here we have the acceptance criteria, and for each acceptance criteria, we have one test case. So in that example, given an employee, when I'm generating an expensive, then I must define the type of the expensive. And here I have more details about this acceptance criteria, if it's the critical or high, and what should happen when as expected. So that we already have defined the acceptance criteria, we need to be prepared to refinement meeting. So in the refinement meeting is where us as a software engineer should guide the citizen developer to create some pick lists to handle with this. It's this need. It's the so if we just get here and create some, let's see, some pick lists. Sorry. It's the name of my expensive types. So I create some options here. Okay. Now I need to go to my object definition and create a new field based on that object. Pick list type, pick list, and expensive types and mandatory. Okay, like now, when the user go to the forms, okay, where is my field? We also need to create or adapt the form, the page experience to management our field. So if I choose my type here, I can just put it right here and then. Okay. Now we have solved this simple reimbursement need. We have our 3 types here. And the next step of the development process is test, perform manual tests, and then create our functional tests. So I have some functional tests here. Okay, I have some tests here that I can just run to check if everything looks good. So as I defined my field as mandatory, and here I don't have fill my new pick list, this test should be this test will be fail. So this test will run. And okay, this field is required. So we need to update the test to keeping our test routine 100% of success. So if I just switch to another branch, I will see that I create some new steps and my test should be passed right now. So, right. And I need to do the same for all the acceptance criteria and all the test case that we have on the test map. So, how can I get this strategy and put on the CI or creating those technical gates that I shared before? So, we can just check how Liferay does this on the Playwright model to get those client extensions and deploy on the CI environment. Works like that. We push the change from the CI, and after that, when we call some testing routine, before the test started, we check if the test mentioned some client extensions, like this. Like from those test model, I have an environment folder, and I defined my two client extensions here, the Liferay reimbursement batch and the Liferay reimbursement site initialized batch. So just before the test is running, the CI will deploy these client extensions, take the zip from the dist file, and send it to the client extension OSGI model. So here I will just show to you some examples of this that we are using. For example, this is the site initialized client extension of the site that we see. Before, we have the first part, like the heady, we have some configurations. And after we have our page X structure here. And similar to the batch engine that we just need to export, get our file and put here, this page has one trick that I like to show you, that to create to perform this change that we done in the CI, for example, we should just editing the page. And export this container. Sorry. Publish. Here. We need to save this container as a composition. And when we do that, we are create one fragment with this test. Save. And when do that, we'll create a fragment test, and we could just export this. Open with code. Sorry, exported file. Open with code. And here we have our page extractor format document. So here, if I use my tweak type, we can see the, let's see what is, there is a lot of type here. But our pick list field is just right here. And if I just copy this file and paste on my client extension site initializer, my page here, I should do this, and this, and deploy this client extension on the test environment, our page extractor will be changed. So I need to make the same for the pick list. So I need to create the pick list batch engine file like this with my heading, configuration stuffs, and my pick list extractor. I need to make sure that all the definitions that I changed have received some updated into their JSONs. And after that, I could send one pull request, for example, for the CI using this client extension deployment features, and I can send to you some results right here. Sorry. So here you can see one real example of all this thing works together. So here we have, let's just go back, not this one. It's just one. So here in the one small pull request, I could create the site initializer, create the batch engine with the original acceptance criteria. After that, I receive new acceptance criteria, perform some changes, and update those JSON file configurations, and send a pull request to my team review. So the team will perform the review, check if the updates on the JSON file make sense, aligned with the acceptance criteria. And then we could just perform a test routine that will create the same site as I will deploy it on the CI, create the batch engine definitions, and perform all the tests from your test routines. So in that case, we have one test failed, and we will not follow with the deployment of these changes. So we need to bring it back, understand what's happened, and fix it. So we just was blocked by one of those technical gates here, and we should go back to the low code to understand what we can improve. And in one scenario that everything happens well, we could just deploy those changes in the other environments and keeping monitoring every day the test results. Like every day, the CI will deploy the site, deploy the batch engine, run the tests. We will say, okay, everything is good, everything is keeping working. But if someday someone performs some change on the production environment that breaks some acceptance criteria, in another day when the test was performed, we will know and make what needs to be done. So to finish, I will just want that when we back to your country or after 2 weeks, 1 month that this talk was finished, I just to you to remember one thing. Okay, sorry. Our goal as a software engineers isn't to block low code, but to empower its safety. We are the actors of the essential quality gates. So if we think a little about this, we can just remember of some steps of those process, bring back from the departments, understand their needs, create some environments, create some features that understand when something will be broken, and make them make what they want. Enable to make them be creative or try new things or solve new needs, and that's it. It was I will propose to share it with you, and I think it was a great thing. That's it.